What's going on, everybody? My name is Monotui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays. Today I'm bringing you guys our GBA Week 10 Team Builder versus Lord Emvee, coach of the San Diego Chimchargers. For whatever reason you are not following his channel, check him out in the description below. He is an absolutely incredible battler, both in the format and in standard play. He is extremely creative when it comes to team building, and it's going to be very difficult to take him on. But I believe I've built a team of 6 that can take on whatever team of 6 he decides to bring. Speaking of his team, his roster should be popping up now. His team consists of Togekiss, Mega Ampharos, Keldeo, Donphan, Gyarados, Haxorus, Gorebyss, Wobbuffet, Blaziken, Sneasel, and Jirachi. So, a very powerful team he's got going on. A team a lot of people didn't like in the very beginning. Thought it was kind of one-dimensional and thought it was kind of odd. He had 3 water types. Smash Pass wasn't considered too highly in the league format, but he is proved pretty much everybody wrong. It has worked out absolutely incredibly for him. It is a very surprisingly versatile team. He can do a lot with it. He has a lot of setup options. He has a lot of immediate offense. He has his hazard setters. He's got a lot of scary things going on with his team that I'm going to be afraid of, but regardless, like I said, I believe I've built a team of 6 that will be able to take on whatever team of 6 he decides to bring. And this week we're bringing some interesting sets. I can't play predictably around Emvee because he's going to be easily able to identify my win condition, play around it, no matter how good the matchup looks. Like, obviously, you look at his team, Mega Manectric puts in a lot of work. He's going to be able to build something that deals with that. He's going to be able to build a lot of different sets that can deal with my threats, and I cannot be predictable around his team. I have to catch him off guard with a couple things and then come in with guaranteed win conditions to clean up the game. So, with that being said, let us now move into our team. Starting off standard, we have our Mega Manectric. Not too much in terms of versatility I can do with Mega Manectric, but the standard set actually puts in a lot of work versus this team. Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Flamethrower, and Hidden Power Ice. Electric Fire coverage is very nice, plus of course HP Ice to hit his Donphan, which is really nice. I'll be able to 2-KO with Hidden Power Ice unless it is an Assault Vest Donphan. We're running Modest because we do not need the timid nature in order to outspeed things like the Sneasel. I outspeed Sneasel with this spread anyway. I was originally going to go with Timid and a lot of Bulk just to take on some of his threats a little bit better, but I decided that Modest is just nice for his team, being able to get more damage off on the Donphan, more on the Togekiss, more onto things like Haxorus, like Wobbuffet, like Jirachi, so determined that Modest was fine. And yeah, not too much else to say about it. Standard Mega Manectric, nothing crazy going on here. So yeah, let us now move on to the next mon on our team. We have a Life Orb offensive Garchomp, Outrage, Earthquake, Stone Edge, and Stealth Rock. Dragon coverage against his team wasn't great. I could have had Dragon Claw to hit the Haxorus, but Life Orb Earthquake is plenty anyway, and I'll be able to knock it out with some chip damage, and I do have a couple things to take that on anyway, so we'll get to that when we get there. Earthquake and Stone Edge are just really good versus his team. Quake Edge is very nice. It 2-KOs pretty much everything on his team, bar like a physically defensive Donphan, bar like a bulky Gyarados. Even then, I 2-KO with Stone Edge, which is nice. He could have like a Shukaberry Jirachi, but even then, it'll be taking a lot of damage, and it can't knock me out with anything bar Icy Wind, I believe, after the Life Orb. Sneasel at Oko's, Jirachi at Kinoko, Gorebyss it does a ton of damage to, Haxorus I Oko with Outrage, and I do massive damage too with the Earthquake. Keldeo's 2-KO'd Mega Ampharos. If it's physically defensive, Mega Ampharos can actually live in a Life Orb Outrage from Garchomp, which is disgusting because it is a very, very bulky Pokemon, but it's not going to appreciate taking that hit or an Earthquake, so with Rock Sub with some chip damage, I'll be able to knock it out, which is very nice. And then Togekiss, like I said, I can 2-KO with the Stone Edge, so this is a very big offensive threat to his team. Was going to go with something like an Earth Plate to just have my Earthquakes hit a little bit harder, but I wanted the Life Orb for the extra damage to guarantee 2-KOs on things, so that is why we're going with the Life Orb set. This is also a Stealth Rocker. It forces out a lot of Mons, like it forces out the Mega Ampharos, like I said, if it's not super bulky, forces out things like Blaziken, if it is not Scarfed with HP Ice, can force out the Jirachi, can possibly force out like a weakened Haxorus, things like that, so or just Haxorus in general, because he's not going to want to stay in unless he's Scarfed, and even then he doesn't want to risk me being Scarfed. So this is the Garchomp we are running this week. Was also debating whether or not to run Swords Dance or Substitute on this thing, but I determined that I wanted the moves on my Bronzong that I had, so I just went, you know what, I don't need Sub or I don't need Swords Dance, let's throw rocks onto this thing. It forces switches, I can get him up somewhat reliably. It punished his Spinner because I have the Rough Skin, obviously, so yeah, that is our Garchomp. relatively standard, though I haven't brought Life Orb in a very long time. And typically I don't like to run Outrage on like Life Orb Chomp like this, but there's not too much that he has to immediately revenge kill it, bar the Sneasel, which is weak to rocks, and hopefully I'll be able to pressure that thing anyway. So yeah, that is our Garchomp. Let us now move on to our Bronzong, and this is where the sets start to get a little bit interesting. We have a Macho Brace Bronzong, Gyro Ball, Hidden Power Electric, Grass Knot, Trick Room, Offensive Bronzong. I really wanted to fit Earthquake on this thing so I can hit the Mega Ampharos, but it's not going to be doing a ton anyway if it's bulky, because like I said, Mega Ampharos is incredibly bulky. Trick Room is essentially there as a failsafe to things like Smash Pass, it's a failsafe to things like Dragon Dance, Haxorus, Dragon Dance, Gyarados. Obviously, Haxorus has Mold Breaker, can hit me with EQ, but unless he is Adamant Banded, I should be able to live one and almost clean knock it out with Gyro Ball. Macho Brace, if you are unfamiliar, my speed is halved. So I'm even slower holding this item, I am extremely slow, and Gyro Ball will be doing even more damage, because obviously that's how Gyro Ball works. The slower you are compared to your opposing Pokemon, the more Gyro Ball does. So I'm expecting this to put in a decent amount of work. Hidden Power Electric to 2-hit KO or possibly 2-hit KO the Gyarados. Didn't want to be set up out of that thing, even though I do have Gyro Ball and he does have Dragon Dance. He resists, and Gyarados is very naturally bulky, plus it has Intimidate, so Gyro Ball will not be doing a lot of damage unless he gets up to like +4, which I'm not going to let him do, because then I just kind of lose. So that's why we have Hidden Power Electric, and then we have Grass Knot to punish things like the Donphan switching in, or things like the Gorobus wanting to switch in, because Grass Knot will do decent damage to both. It should be a 2-hit KO on Donphan unless he is running an AV set, like I said. It's just, like I said, I want to weaken his team so that my Mega Manectric can kind of clean up late game, and getting rid of Donphan or just weakening Donphan is going to be very nice. After a Grass Knot, if it's not AV, HP Ice from Manectric will be able to knock it out, which is very nice. So I kind of want to punish his possible switch-ins for that. Even though he might be able to get up rocks, I will be getting the damage off onto it that I need for my Mega Manectric, for things like my Garchomp, even things like my Azumarill. So that is the Bronzong set that we are running. Like I said, wanted to fit Earthquake, couldn't fit it, but yeah, offensive Trick Room Bronzong, good failsafe, pretty good offensive Mon versus his team. He does have his very safe switch-ins, like things like Mega Ampharos deal with it. Keldeo doesn't take a lot of damage from Gyro Ball, though it is a possible 3-hit KO. It is a very good Mon versus his team, and I'm hoping it's going to put in work. So, with that being said, let us now move on to probably the most heat set that we have ever brought this season. Scarf Mandibuzz, everybody. So, this was entirely Kyle's idea. I didn't want to do it, and then I looked a little bit more, and then I was like, okay, yeah, it kind of works. So, I'm playing this game pretty offensive, if you couldn't tell. Bronzong's offensive, we have a somewhat offensive Mandibuzz, offensive, and then we have the one bulky pivot in Amongus that I'll get into. That is intended. I feel like an offensive playstyle versus Emvee is going to work a little bit better, because Emvee loves to capitalize on bulkier Pokemon. He loves to find setup fodder on my team. He likes to find setup fodder on his opponent's team and use that as setup fodder for things like Gorobus, things like Haxorus, things like that. So I don't want to give him that opportunity. I would rather just have a more offensive team that can deal immediate damage. So we have a Choice Scarf Mandibuzz, Weak Armor to boost our speed even more if we're hit by a physical attack. So that's that. Brave Bird, Foul Play, U-Turn, and Roost. Roost on a Choice Scarf Mandibuzz because I didn't really need another move on this thing. I decided might as well have the recovery anyway, could come in handy later on if I predict a switch. Go for a Roost, get myself healthy, deal more damage later on. With 64 attack EVs, I guaranteed knockout Blaziken from full, which is very nice. And then I didn't need a lot more, even though I am kind of offensive with Choice Scarf, because Foul Play takes my opponent's stat. So no matter how much attack I put into this thing, Foul Play will not be doing any more. And then we have U-Turn to get ourselves out of situations that we do not want to be in. For example, like he has very good switch-ins to this, like the Togekiss, Mega Ampharos, even the Donphan, kind of the Gyarados, even though Foul Play does kind of hurt the Gyarados, and things like Sneasel. U-Turn helps me versus all of those things. I actually outspeed Sneasel, as long as he is not Choice Scarf, and get off nice damage with that, something I doubt he's going to expect. I can U-turn out versus the Togekiss, like I said. I can U-turn out versus Mega Ampharos, gain myself initiative into big offensive threats to his team, like Azumarill, like Garchomp, like Mega Manectric. So, as you can see, I'm kind of like This Mandibuzz and the Amongus I'll have in a bit. This Mandibuzz kind of acts as a bulky pivot anyway, or just like a pivot in general, because I can click U-turn on things like Jirachi switching out into Togekiss, or things like Keldeo switching out into something like Togekiss or Mega Ampharos, and then go out into big offensive threats versus them. So this is our Mandibuzz. I'm hoping this puts in a lot of work. It is definitely pretty creative. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully it'll put in work. Hopefully it will be able to catch him off guard. I mean, I'm sure it'll catch him off guard, but hopefully this set will be able to snag a surprise kill here and there. Like if he's in with Sneasel and it's a little bit weakened, I can pick it off with U-turn. So yeah, that is our Mandibuzz. Like I said, very odd, but definitely something that I expect to catch him off guard and something that I expect to do good things for me. So that is our Mandibuzz. Let us now move on to the next member of our team. We're getting back into the more standard realm. We have Amongus here. Giga Drain, Foul Play, Toxic, and Spore. Wanted to fit Sludge Bomb on this thing to hit the Togekiss harder, but I can also just get off a Toxic on Togekiss, wear it down. If rocks are up, it's going to be pressured. I have things like Stone Edge, Thunderbolt here, Gyro Ball here. Azumarill kind of hurts it, so not necessarily the biggest threat to my team, but I did want to have something to hit it. So we have dual status. Toxic is very nice versus something like Wobbuffet. Like, if I didn't have Toxic on this thing, Wobbuffet would be able to come in, trap me, click Mirror Coat, do whatever it wants to do to me. It could even be Safety Goggles to avoid Spores, so that it has guaranteed Mirror Coats versus me. So I wanted Toxic versus that thing. I also have Foul Play to kind of pivot around, like, Mirror Coats and counters, which is nice. But Foul Play is also nice because it hits the Haxorus very hard, hits things like Gyarados very hard if he starts setting up, can hit things like the Jirachi super effectively, which is nice. Giga Drain, of course, is just nice for things like the Keldeo, the Donphan. His team is relatively grass weak, although he does have his resistances. Amongus is also one of the best switch-ins to Keldeo in the game. It's a standard Keldeo pivot in OU. It's going to be putting in a lot of work here as well. The only way you can possibly 2-KO me is with Specs Icy Wind after rocks, and if he is Specs locked into Icy Wind, I have a free switch into something like Bronzong when that's only powering up my Gyro Ball, which is very nice. I also have a free switch into Azumarill, which can put in a lot of hurt on his team. So this is meant to be a bulky pivot for his team, take on some of the offensive threats that my offensive threats do not want to deal with, like Scarf Keldeo, hurts my manectric, it has Icy Wind for the Garchomp, it has things like that, so I didn't want that being a problem, and I have one of the best stops to it here, which is very nice. I also punished the Donphan with this, because obviously Giga Drain is a nice 2-KO, and like I said earlier, Foul Play is just very good in general, hits things like the Jirachi super effective for a possible 2-KO, and then just hits a lot of his physical setup sweepers hard as well. So I'm expecting the Amongus to put in some work as well. It's very nice for his team. Also, with my investment, I can live an Icicle Crash from Life Orb Sneasel, which is very nice because Sneasel is kind of a threat to my team. It doesn't necessarily OHKO anything bar the Garchomp, but if my team is weakened enough, it can definitely clean up late game, so I gotta be careful of that. And yeah, this is our Amongus, relatively standard, not too much else to go over, just very nice for his team. Now, moving on to the last mon on our team, we have our Azumarill. 4 attacks, Kebia Berry, Adam and Azumarill with a good amount of speed investment. Player Off Knockoff, Aqua Jet Waterfall, not too much else to go into there. It hits the majority of his team. This is one of the things that I have to deal with his Mega Ampharos. Mega Ampharos is a problem to my team. I have my offensive checks to it. I have somewhat of a defensive check in my Amongus, even though I can't really touch it back. So yeah, this is our Azumarill. Play Rough, Knockoff, Aqua Jet Waterfall. Like I said, it's his whole team. Kebia Berry is going to be very nice because his team has a lot of poison coverage. For example, Donphan could be running Gunk Shot to hit my Azumarill. It could also be a speedy Donphan in order to outspeed it, which he's done in the past. He could be running Poison Jab on a Sneasel, which I can definitely see him doing because otherwise Azumarill kind of straight up walls it. He could be running Poison Jab on Haxorus, which I very much expect him to do because he has no reason not to. It hits this. He doesn't need too much other coverage for my team, bar like Dragon coverage, Earthquake, things like that. So Kebia Berry allows me to live a lot of those hits and then get off massive damage onto those things. I OHKO the Sneasel, I can OHKO the Haxorus, I knock out the Donphan with some prior damage. Waterfall does a lot of damage to it, so with a little bit of chip damage, that would be very nice to get off. So item and moveset relatively standard. Well, I mean, I guess not the item, but item and moveset explained. Eevee Spread. 108 speed allows me to outspeed a Donphan by multiple points. I also outspeed Mega Ampharos by many points. I outspeed the likes of Wobbuffet unless he's running like Jolly Max speed, which I don't think he would be doing. So essentially this Azumarill is meant to just outspeed something like a minimally speed invested Donphan, which he definitely could be doing. He has brought like a speedy Donphan in the past. He's brought Rock Polish before. I don't know if that will be the match that he does this as well. I feel like he would rather have it as a Stealth Rocker versus me, but it's definitely possible and I don't want to count that out. So if he is more offensive and speedy, I will be able to take a Gunk Shot from it or an Earthquake from full health, and then I'll be able to hit it very hard with Waterfall and then Aqua Jet on the following turn. So that is the team versus Lord Emvee. Like I said, check him out in the description below. Incredible battler. I'm definitely very nervous for this game. Like I said, he's extremely good. He's had a very high success rate in the GBA so far, but I think with the combination of standard stuff and unconventional stuff that we got going on, I think we can pull through. And we definitely need to. We are closing in on a playoff spot. We currently have it, but if we lose this game, it could be given up to someone like Lars. So I really need to keep winning consistently, and that's not something I've been able to do so far this season. I think I won 2 in a row in the beginning, and it's kind of been back and forth. I really need to keep winning because I really want that playoff spot, and it's going to be very hard to get it if we lose this match. But regardless, thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you're looking forward to the match because I certainly am, and I'll see you next time.